when the trainer that has won 4 championships this season calls you one of the best, you better believe it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we really have to look at just this role that Ilqm is on right now, winning 2 consecutive championships at the regional stage, and now making it through on the winner's side to the grand finals as well. He's taken down ItsAXN once before in a very close 2-1 best of 3. Keep in mind, though, it came down to that charge attack priority of the Dedenne versus the Diggersby, which the Dedenne did win. It was razor-thin margins. I think that ItsAXN, he's been putting in the practice. He might have what it takes to try and reset this bracket.
He has a little bit of momentum now. Well, Ilqm had some time to rest and think about what is up to come here. This is not a best of 3. This is a best of 5. Ilqm needs to win only once, and ItsAXN, coming from the loser side of the bracket, needs to win the best of 5 twice. The first one to reset the bracket, the second one to win it all. We might either get the back-to-back-to-back win from Ilqm from this match, or we get the first trainer to win 2 international championships in Pokémon GO.
Well, we were talking about similarities and differences, not only in their accolades, but their teams. Of course, they have essentially the same 6 type of Pokemon. We're going to put a pin in that. Let's move into it. Speaking of similarities, it's the battle of the mice here. We have the Dedenne versus the Dedenne.
Yesterday, we saw Ilqm go straight for the Parabolic Charge. This time, ItsAXN goes straight for the Parabolic Charge. What this means is after you buff your defense, the Dedenne from ItsAXN will be able to hang on to a play rough from the Dedenne from Ilqm. Looks like Ilqm also strikes back with a Parabolic Charge.
Last time Ilqm threw after 6 Thunder Shocks, and ItsAXN threw right after that. This time ItsAXN throwing right away. This does give a little bit of an advantage to ItsAXN, but I believe that Ilqm actually wins this charge attack priority, but no, not this time. It's ItsAXN.
ItsAXN has a little bit of a higher attack on the Dedenne. Players coming through. I mean, it's barely one knockout. Ilqm knows his matchups as the Dedenne hangs on by 1 HP.
Last time that they were in this situation, we actually saw the simultaneous swap, both Drapions. Let's see if they do it again here.
And there we go, we have to switch, but it's the Golisopod into the Araquanid. This is almost the same as yesterday. Then it was the Drapion coming in. Remember, this is a match that Araquanid would win head-to-head, but it might come down to which charge attack is being thrown in. I think after letting these axes go, it might be tempting to go for the Water Pulse. No, goes for the Ball Beam immediately.
Well, this is the matchup that we wanted to see, the battle of the bugs in the Bayou. Like you said earlier in Adequance, we typically expect to see the Golisopod losing the even shielding scenarios to this Araquanid. But right now, you can see just how impactful this Bug Bite is compared to Fury Cutter.
And X-Scissor is also a strong Bug-type attack. This time a Charge Attack, though. It's gonna deal a significant chunk still. This Araquanid, but Araquanid's bulky. It's gonna hang on. Look at that. You win this straight Bubble Beam as the Araquanid hardly deals any charge attack pressure, but the Bug Bite hits so hard. The thing is, this sets up Ilqm for an energy lead on the Drapion. Now he's ahead on ItsAXN.
Ilqm is 1 turn ahead of ItsAXN with his Shadow Drapion. Typically, that gives him an advantage with how quickly that these Pokemon generate energy. They're going to be able to probably stall out the switch clock. There could be Kenchateps towards the end of this game.
I think that might be the win condition for this point as ItsAXN. Ilqm needs to be careful that his charge attack won't be caught on any of the Pokemon in the back from ItsAXN. Now do keep in mind that Ilqm also still has 2 Pokemon in the back. So for Ilqm, there are also catch potentials if needed.
All right, well, here comes the next charge attack. ItsAXN opting to use both of his Protect Shields, has none remaining. Ilqm still has 1 Protect Shield. We're going to see a charge attack priority here, which ItsAXN actually wins with his Drapion.
He knows this from yesterday, and this is a very important moment. The last protection from Ilqm goes up here. No more Protect Shields in play. Are we going to see a catch as another Aqua Tail is loaded?
I think switch clocks are up for both of these trainers at this point. ItsAXN lands the Aqua Tail. Ilqm lands the Aqua Tail. ItsAXN now has 2 tries to get a catch. Will you get to the Aqua Tail? It's caught!
The catch on your Araquanid!
What a play by ItsAXN. He knew that that switch was coming. He was able to predict it and get his own switch, able to catch the full Aqua Jet. His Drapion is loaded on energy, gets the farm down, is close to 100 energy, just needs to unleash Aqua Tail, Aqua Tail, Aqua Tail.
And ItsAXN waiting a turn, making sure that he's not firing any energy into that Dedenne. Ilqm timer is not up yet, so you can launch another Aqua 2 as he wins charge attack priority.
The charge attack priority is so significant here. We saw how meaningful it was earlier in the previous series. It's meaningful here in the grand finals as well. The Aqua Tail knocks out the opposing Drapion and now farms down. Game number 1 goes to ItsAXN.
Master Axon, a master of the Araquanid. His friend Doombug showed in this Pokemon, and ItsAXN was like, yeah, this is my type of style. Winning games in style with this Pokemon. He takes game number 1 in this grand finals. 2 more to go for him. Ilqm can still make a return though.
We saw everything we wanted to see. We saw the mirror matchups. We saw the simultaneous swaps. We saw the 50-second switch clock come up. Ilqm trying to make a play, but ItsAXN 1 step ahead, trying to put Ilqm on the back foot, and in fact he did. He's currently up 1-0.
It was actually Ilqm making that attempt for a catch, even though Ilqm was the trainer who was up in energy. So kind of interesting there, and I just want to call the precision of ItsAXN there, and the brain that he has to still keep track of this energy right here of the Golisopod, and remembering that making the catch on the Araquanid was pivotal.
If you end up taking that Aqua Jet on your Drapion, that's probably game over. He had to make that play. Like you said, Ilqm was ahead in energy, and he was in a situation where 1 charge attack was likely going to be knocking out the Drapion. ItsAXN had to make the play, and he pulled it out just when he needed it most.
If you don't make that catch, the Araquanid bug bites down the Golisopod, and then the Drapion from Ilqm would have been able to get more energy and outpace the Drapion from ItsAXN. In that case, Ilqm would have won that battle, and that is exactly why that catch from ItsAXN was so important for him to win this battle. We saw a very similar game of what we had yesterday. We had the Denimir at the time, and at the very end of that matchup, both trainers swapped into Drapion. This time, both trainers went into the water and bug type Pokemon. Normally you don't swap that into a Dedenne. That would be a crazy move, but this time the Dedenne had nothing left, only a sliver of HP, so you could get ahead with that Pokemon on your side, because ItsAXN knows Araquanid not that bad into Dusclops if it would be in the back, and so it goes for Ilqm as well with the Golisopod.
Well, one of the Pokemon that we saw as a counter to this Dedennes was the Diggersby. We did see it featured in the best of 3 yesterday in winners semis. My question for you, Inadequence, how does the Golisopod and the Araquanid do into those Diggersby? Is one better than the other?
They both dominate that matchup. I would say that the Araquanid does better because it takes the charge stack and fast stack damage just better, and then can even debuff the attack of the Diggersby, which already isn't high in the first place, but you take even less damage and then you can manage your energy much better as the Araquanid. Of course, the Golisopod doesn't run Shadow Claw now, which it would be double resistant on the normal typing of the Diggersby. It is Fury Cutter. And let's see, we have the Dusclops from Ilqm into the Araquanid from ItsAXN. You think it's a bad matchup. It looks like ItsAXN also thinks that, swaps into the Shadow Drapion, answered by Lapras. This is not exactly an answer to Shadow Drapion, but Lapras has the bulk to hang in here.
Well, we actually saw the Araquanid winning the Zero Shield versus the Dusclops, but I think that ItsAXN wants to use that Araquanid in a different capacity, so he swaps it out, brings in this Drapion, lands the Crunch. Will we see the next Crunch get fired? No. Ilqm actually able to get to the Sparkling Aria. How does this matchup play out for the Lapras?
Lapras should win the 2-shield scenario here. We see ItsAXN put up the first Protect Shield. That charge stack would not have knocked out just yet, but looks like ItsAXN just wants to get shields down potentially, as he has the Diggersby in the back. If there's a Drapion from Ilqm in the back, you want shields down so you can land that super effective Scourging Sands.
Ilqm farming up energy, throws just before the Crunch. Precision plays yet again from Ilqm. Here we go. The second Protect Shield is getting used by ItsAXN. We need to keep an eye on the switch clocks and Inadequence. As always, we've seen Axn make critical catches before. Does he need to do it again?
It's up. If Axn throws one more Poison Sting, Ilqm will be at the next Sparkling Area. If he's able to make a catch, that could be pivotal in this game here. Ilqm launching up energy. Oh, he makes the catch again! He does it again!
Doing it with style, ItsAXN, the master, bringing in his Araquanid to soak up all of this energy. And now we're going to be seeing the Dusclops take the field again. Remember, this is resisted bug bite damage, but we've seen Araquanid in the Zero Shield situation, which is exactly what we have here. Sometimes take this.
And the reason why this match is not that bad for Araquanid is because Dusclops has an immense defense stat, but pretty low HP. Remember when I told you about the clock ticking down on 100 or 200? This is that Pokemon that has only 100 HP, so every time the HP just goes down pretty quickly, rather, even though resisted.
Well, let's look a little bit ahead as well. What are the Pokemon that we have remaining in the back for Ilqm? It's going to be that Shadow Drapion. It has an opportunity to get met by that Diggersby, and there are no Protect Shields to hide behind.
No protections to hide behind, attempting to make a catch on the Diggersby, but it's going to be met with this Ice Punch. Ilqm being patient, not letting Master Axon make another catch here. Ice Punch is going to be super effective, but Diggersby's bulky, and in comes the Shadow Drapion. Ilqm is shaking his head because he's going to get hit by the super effective Scorching Sands now.
Are you surprised to see the swap in? There was so much energy on that Dusclops, it was out of range of a Scorching Sands. Could have thrown several more Ice Punches. What's the strategy here, Inadequate?
I don't think it would have mattered because ItsAXN would have farmed up more energy, especially if he expects that Shadow Drapion in the back. Scorching Sands gonna land. This Diggersby's bulky. Drapion's not heavy damage, and you get the quick attack down, but not before that Aqua Tail.
Okay, you get to one more Aqua Tail here. This is not going to quite knock out, but don't forget all the energy still on the Dusclops for Ilqm, not to mention the Lapras that he still has on his side as well.
There's also still a little bit left on that Drapion. I believe that ItsAXN has about a few Poison Stings on that Pokemon. He's stepping a little bit close to that switch here. Which Pokemon do you bring as Ilqm? In comes the Lapras. He gets to the Scorching Sands for the knockout. Now it's all in the hands of Dusclops for Ilqm, which I believe has one Ice Punch loaded at least.
I feel a catch in the air, Martine. Can ItsAXN do it again? Here we go. Ilqm has the Ice Punch loaded. Is this enough to knock out?
If this knocks out, it might be decisive because you need the crush ItsAXN. Drapion gets knocked out!
All right, here we have it. There are still two Pokemon on the side of ItsAXN. How much energy does this Araquanid have? It needs to land a Water Pulse to do any meaningful damage. Here we have it. It has the Water Pulse, has a Bubble Beam to start. Will this keep it outside of range of a Shadow Punch?
There is absolutely no way that this will save the Araquanid at this amount of health. I think ItsAXN perhaps trying to preserve the timing here, but it's not able to. The Shadow Punch is coming through, and I'm pretty sure even though debuff is going to knock out the Araquanid, it won't hang on. How much energy does Diggersby have? It has nothing left. Dusclops only needs 2 hacks, and Ilqm punches its way to tie up the score to 1-1.
We are evening things up 1-1. Ilqm on the back of the Dusclops, able to get the super effective Ice Punch into the Diggersby. We saw him bring in that Drapion into the Diggersby, and it did exactly what it needed to. Landed 2 Aqua Tails, put it in range where that Diggersby could be neutralized by the Dusclops, and you can see Ilqm a master of Dusclops.
We thought that swapping the Shadow Drapion into the Diggersby was not the play, but Ilqm showed us it was. He was barely able to get to that next crucial Aqua Tail. If Shadow Drapion didn't get to that Aqua Tail on 1 HP there, then the Dusclops needed 2 charge attacks because 1 Ice Punch would not have been enough to knock out the Diggersby. It would need to expend energy there. And I think also as ItsAXN, he had the Aqua Tail loaded. He tried to go for the crunch. I think if you go for the Aqua Tail, a Water Pulse then may have secured the knockout on the Dusclops.
It's very curious to see how that would have been played out. Martine, we've seen some meaningful mirror matchups, but one we haven't seen yet is the Lapras into the Lapras. Let's not forget that ItsAXN has access to Skull Bash. And while we've seen lots of these mirrors already, the Dedenne into the Dedenne, the Drapion into the Drapion, while the attack stack can determine those matchups, what determines the Lapras matchup here is going to be the charged attacks.
Right, ItsAXN has Skull Bash, a normal type charge stack which enhances the defense of it. Ilqm has Ice Beam. The way you can get Ice Beam, if you've been watching this streak, you get the Elite Charge TM, and they get the Legacy Charge Stack Ice Beam that can hit for super effective on grass and flying type Pokemon, which could be a nice niche to have, not against an opposing Lapras though. And that's exactly why ItsAXN has Skull Bash for opposing water-type Pokemon.
Let's remember where we are. ItsAXN coming through the loser side of the bracket. He needs to force a bracket reset here in this best of 5. We're currently 1-1, so he needs to win 2 more battles in order to reset the bracket and go to a grand finals reset. Meanwhile, on the other side, Ilqm, he came in through the winner's side of the bracket. He was able to take a 3-2 series victory versus Pokémon. He's currently tied 1-1 versus ItsAXN. If he wins 2 battles, he will be your NAIC champion.
And it really comes down to the decisions and the Pokemon these trainers are going to bring in this game number 3. Here we go. We have a great lead for Ilqm. That is the Dedenne into the Shadow Drapion and immediately answered by the Lapras.
This was the exact switch that we saw earlier. We saw the Drapion from ItsAXN, and now we see the response, the Lapras from Ilqm. Like you mentioned, in these even shield situations, specifically the 2-shield, typically Lapras wins this.
This is exactly what Master Axon wants, though. He has the Diggersby in the back, and now he baited out the Lapras. If we take a look at the line of Ilqm, both the Dedenne and Shadow Drapion really don't want to see that Diggersby, especially when shields are going down here. Let's see if ItsAXN can pull back a shield here. If Ilqm knows that there could be a Diggersby in the back, he needs to preserve this Lapras, and he does put out the Protect Shield.
This is Ilum's only Diggersby answer. Both of his remaining Pokemon take super effective damage from Scorching Sands. If both of his Protect Shields are taken away, he will have nothing to stop the reign of Diggersby.
The timer is up, so a catch is possible for either trainer. I wouldn't be. And there is that catch on the Shadow Drapion. This is a great play from Ilqm, and the reason why is because you need that Lapras for a potential Diggersby in the back. We see from ItsAXN that he does have that Pokemon.
He needs the Lapras, and he needs that Protect Shield as well, and now he not only has that Lapras with energy, he still has a Protect Shield remaining. ItsAXN opting to stay in this matchup right now. This is another situation where it seems like Ilqm is willing to just simply sacrifice his Drapion.
There's another catch attempt from ItsAXN. Ilqm again being patient, not letting that happen. He doesn't want to throw an Aqua Tail into a Lapras. Goes for the neutral crunch. Can you get to another one? Even though Psywave is resistant, looks like Drapion's barely able to get to an Aqua Tail. This won't deal a lot of damage as water on water is resistant.
But this Lapras is so bulky and it can hit these Skull Bashes as well, don't forget. And look at the energy difference here. ItsAXN actually just goes straight for the Sparkling Aria. Ilqm probably expecting the Diggersby at this point, I'm not sure.
That's why he swapped out of that Lapras, and even though he had to go for the Sparkling Area here right before the Parabolic Charge, perfect counting from Ilqm there, not taking any chances to get to another one, even though there's still a Protect Shield on his side. And I think that Ilqm still has some energy on his Lapras as well. He's looking to be in a pretty good spot. In comes that Sparkling Area, no catch this time from ItsAXN, and I think that with a few more Sideways, another Sparkling Area will secure the knockout, so ItsAXN's only hope here may just be another catch.
He's done it before, can he do it again? Here comes the Fire Punch. This would be threatening to knock out Ilum's Lapras. Ilqm not having a lot of HP between his two Pokemon at all. It is imperative that he lands this charge attack. Okay, but Drapion comes in, Switch Clock is not up, and he's able to get to the Aqua Tail. This will take out the Lapras.
Here's the thing though, how much energy can this Dedenne get? Because Diggersby has no energy. It is in range of 2 Play Rough. Dedenne has a little bit of energy. Can you get to the Aqua Tier? Has the Drapion, and oh, a charge attack purely perfect counting from Ilqm, but you needed this energy for the Diggersby.
Ilqm shaking his head. He knows there's no way for him to climb this mountain in game number 3. Diggersby is going to return to the field, double resisting all of these Thunder Shocks. You're going to try to get to this Play Rough here. We've seen it knock out once before, but no, not this time. Quick attack down from ItsAXN's Diggersby. He takes a 2-1 series lead.
ItsAXN knew that Play Rough wouldn't even knock out, so he didn't even bother with the Fire Punch there. Diggersby taking that game. That was super well played by Ilqm, I must say, and ItsAXN kind of came out of nowhere there, especially after the charge attack was caught and Ilqm preserved that Lapras. That Lapras was looking so tough for the Diggersby of ItsAXN there.
Inadequate. From your perspective, is it too risky to run that team again for Ilqm that's ABA weak to Diggersby?
I think that if you run that team, you might want to try it with the Drapion lead instead that we see right here. This very Drapion that could deal at least super effective damage in Aqua Tail back to Diggersby. Ilqm knew the counts perfectly. He was pressured here to put his final Protect Shield, but ItsAXN knew he couldn't get Psywave down, had some energy on the Shadow Drapion to knock out the Lapras, and then Ilqm knew how much energy this Drapion had, but he needed an entire Thundershock down, couldn't get it as Drapion's just way too fast.
ItsAXN now 1 game away from getting the bracket reset. That's when everything is just a clean slate. It would then be a new best of 5. However, Ilqm can still come back from this. We can see him win 2 consecutive games where he would become our grand champion. As it stands now, though, 1-2, and Ilqm is on the back foot. He needs to figure out a team that's going to combat that Diggersby we saw from ItsAXN.
Curious to see if we are going to see some Dedenne action still from Ilqm. Getting it on the Diggersby is absolutely devastating. That is a hard, polarizing matchup that you really don't want. And I believe that we didn't see any water and bug type Pokemon that were so important in those previous matches here. So curious to see if either trainer is going to adapt to that.
All right, these trainers are still finalizing their strategies, finalizing their team of 3. So many small details make big impacts in these grand finals, and with how evenly matched these trainers are and with how similar their teams are, one decision can have huge impacts.
We're about to find out very soon as we are about to head into game number 4 between these absolute masterclasses of talent in Pokemon GO PvP. These are veterans, trainers that have been around for so long, have hit Legend almost every season in the GO Battle League, and it all translated as soon as Pokemon GO got included in the Championship Series to these kind of trainers making it to the Grand Finals at the biggest stage that you can have.
And what I love to highlight is just here in the Grand Finals, you can see how every small decision can have these huge impacts, and it can happen in a fraction of a second.
And here we go, the fraction of a second is near. This is a great lead for ItsAXN. He gets a Lapras into Diggersby. We see the switch into the Drapion, but there's no answer from ItsAXN.
The Drapion is going to be able to get to this crunch prior to ItsAXN getting to his Sparkling Aria. He does not shield this one up. It's going to do close to half the remaining HP of this Lapras, but ItsAXN seems content to stay in it and at least throw his Sparkling Aria before exiting the match.
We see the defense drop, a 20% chance to get that, but I wouldn't think that ItsAXN is going to stay into this matchup. The Lapras pulls a shield. This is a great time to go into your Shadow Drapion after the chip and dip. However, this has stalled the clock by approximately 30 seconds, so at some point we may see Ilqm swap out of this matchup to preserve this Drapion.
Okay, well, ItsAXN is ahead on Protect Shields. He's behind on Energy, and you still need 2 of these Aqua Tails to knock out Ilum's Shadow Drapion here. Ilqm, meanwhile, has 2 Aqua Tails loaded. It's going to be curious to see the timing for when they're going to be throwing these charge attacks.
Do you even want to switch out here? The problem is, if you were to try and catch on the Diggersby, that would probably be on a super effective Aqua Tail. ItsAXN wants to preserve switch advantage. He puts up the protection there, even though that the Duskull's not bad there either. In comes Golisopod. It's going to take a lot of damage from this crunch that's coming in from the Drapion right now. Chop, chop, chop. It lands and deals about 50% damage.
Yeah, over half the HP on that Golisopod, and look what's hanging out in the back. It's going to be the Dusclops. You mentioned that this used to be a good matchup for the Golisopod when it had Shadow Claw, but it's now running Resisted Fury Cutter. While it can still unleash these Aqua Jets, this is a much more favorable matchup now for the Dusclops.
Aqua Jet is a pretty efficient charge stack here in Pokemon GO, going for the Shadow Punch. I know that in the video game, Dusclops doesn't have a lot of speed, but in Pokemon GO, only 4.5 seconds to your charge stack. And this Dusclops also has a decent matchup into the Diggersby because you have coverage in Ice with Ice Punch that's coming through right now on the Diggersby.
The Diggersby is going to have to do a ton of work here. I think you need 2 Scorching Sands for the Dusclops. I think you need a Fire Punch for the Drapion, and then I think you need a Fire Punch and a Scorching Sands for the Lapras. That's 5 charge attacks, and I believe there's still a Protect Shield.
And in comes that first Scorching Sands. ItsAXN not putting up his final Protect Shield still. This might drop the attack. There's a 30% chance, but no attack drop this time. ItsAXN already used up that, or didn't already have that luck against him in the previous match. This time the luck is with him. Another Ice Punch lands, but it still does less than a Sparkling Area. That's why we still see no Protect Shield on the side from Ilqm. But if you use no Protect Shield here, you might get Psywave down by the Lapras.
There's no threat of a Poison Sting down, but there is the threat of the Psywave down, having to use this Protect Shield. ItsAXN still has his own Protect Shield. How much can you overfarm as Ilqm? He only needs the Fire Punch at this point. There are 2 Fire Punches loaded, though. ItsAXN does not want to shield this.
And you need 3 charge stacks at this point. Lapras, a bulky Pokemon. No, in comes a Drapion instead, which is 2 of an Aqua Tail. It gets to this Aqua Tail. Shields are down from Ilqm, and this super effective charge stack is going to threaten the Diggersby for a knockout. Lapras tries to come in. It's not even necessary. Now it comes in for the Drapion. Resisted Psywave, but it's not even necessary anymore. Ilqm knows doesn't need to throw a charge stack. ItsAXN, he gets the bracket reset.
We're going to another best of 5. ItsAXN has evened up the series 3-1. Ilqm needs to figure things out and figure it out quick, but we are going to be moving to a clean slate here. Both of these trainers are going to take a deep breath, and they're going to try to figure out how to win 3 games so that they can get the title of North America International Champion.
ItsAXN brought that momentum he had in the losers finals into this grand finals. Yesterday, Ilqm had that clean 2-0 win against ItsAXN, but this time it looks like he learned from their previous encounter. Even with those simultaneous switches and knowing the charge tech purity ties, ItsAXN positioned his Pokemon perfectly, and the Protect Shields were used at the exact right moments to win those games and getting the bracket reset. Now it comes down to a final best of 5 between these two trainers.
Would you say that ItsAXN was playing at an elevated level compared to what he played yesterday?
He is in world champion mode. This might be the same ItsAXN we saw in form at the 2023 World Championships, bringing the Dusclops exactly when he needed to, even despite Ilqm bringing Shadow Drapion, the Dark-type Pokemon, every single game. Dusclops came in clutch when it needed to fight against Golisopod and Diggersby.
I think ItsAXN may be one of those trainers that any setback that he has only makes him stronger. We saw him lose that game number 2, maybe a small miscue there, and it just translated to him tightening up his gameplay and having a very clean game 3, game 4. He now finds himself 3 wins away from becoming yet again the North American International Champion. He would be the first Pokemon GO trainer to win 2 ICs.
But Ilqm also wants to write history. He could be the first trainer in Pokemon GO to win 3 consecutive championships in a row that they competed in. So a lot of the line for both of these trainers. Both trainers have secured the top 2, but who is going to be your champion of New Orleans of NAIC 2025, chat? I want to hear from you the support for which trainer you are rooting for.
I don't think we're going to be seeing a sweep here on either side. We've talked about how evenly matched these trainers are. I think we're going to be seeing a full 5 games here in Adequance.
I would love to see that as a viewer, but I think that these trainers would like to get the wins in as soon as they can. The 2 veterans. What are these trainers going to do now? Is Ilqm still going to rely on the Diggersby there, or does he maybe want to try out his own Dusclops here like ItsAXN did?
All right, these trainers are trying to figure out any last-minute details that may impact their matchups here. We got to see it all in that first series. We saw the Battle of the Bugs. We saw the mirror matchups. The one thing we didn't see was Lapras versus Lapras, but I think Diggersby may have been the most impactful Pokemon in that first series.
Especially because Ilqm got it aligned on a Dedenne and a Drapion over and over. Then he tried to catch ItsAXN with his own Diggersby, and that failed as it was aligned to the Lapras. Lapras has been so important in the last season in Pokemon GO. That was the Might and Mastery season, and now it is important in this grand finals here in the Delightful Days meta, the 2025 NAIC.
Yeah, these trainers still getting locked in here. Take a look at these accolades in Adequance. Ilqm, like we mentioned, won 2 regionals this season, Atlanta, Toronto, back-to-back. But don't forget that he also top-8'd at LAIC in Sao Paulo. Additionally, he top-4'd NAIC last year, so this is not unfamiliar territory for him.
3 trophies to his name, Ilqm, and of course ItsAXN with so many accolades as well. Champion, 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 champion for both trainers. What are we going to expect here? I expect a great set here. All of these finals have been amazing. I believe we are heading into our first match of the Grand Finals reset. Here we go. We have the Dedenne from Ilqm into the Shadow Drapion from ItsAXN.
This is a good lead for ItsAXN. He's going to be able to get a lot of poison sting damage in, but keep in mind, Ilqm will be able to start ramping up his defense on his Dedenne as well. Uses his first Protect Shield against the Aqua Tail.
And looks like Ilqm is going to try and win this matchup. Now, you do take super effective damage from Poison Sting. That is the fast attack from Drapion. However, this Parabolic Charge is going to keep buffing the defense from this Dedenne. At some point, it won't take as much damage anymore from this Drapion, and it will be able to get the Thundershock down when 2 shields are used on the Dedenne.
Well, I think Ilqm knows with his Diggersby how threatened it is by Araquanid, and how much with ItsAXN been running the Araquanid. I think that he's pretty keen on taking switch advantage here.
I think at this point, ItsAXN's heart might be racing a little bit. Oh, we see the catch on the Lapras. This is a huge play from Ilqm. Let me tell you why. He has 2 water types in the back, ItsAXN, and there's a Parabolic Charge loaded on the side of ItsAXN.
Okay, it's so tempting to try and bring maybe in that that Bug Bite Araquanid, knowing that you're going to resist all the charge attacks, but he has the better answer. It's the Lapras versus Lapras. This is the matchup that you and I wanted to see.
But this might also be the matchup that Ilqm kind of wants to see, even though he's lacking Skull Bash. This is a counter to that Diggersby that Ilqm might be fearing here. But ItsAXN has another counter to the Diggersby. This is the team that ItsAXN kept bringing against Pokémon, and it seems to be the team he's comfortable with bringing into Ilqm as well.
Ilqm is going to have to figure out how do you remove these water types from the field. You're only throwing resisted charge attacks with your Lapras. It's not a water Pokemon answer. That's why he opted to swap out of his Dedenne, and now the combo play here, throwing the Parabolic Charge. This is going to strip away a Protect Shield from ItsAXN.
2 shields have been used by Ilqm already on the Shadow Drapion, Aqua Tail, and then the Skull Bash from ItsAXN's Lapras. Does ItsAXN put up 2 protection? Yes, he does. He wants to get that Psy Wave down. Realizes that if you look at the team of ItsAXN, the energy will be useful everywhere. Even though the Lapras from Ilqm is still healthy, you are slowly getting to Sparkling Area range here as the Lapras from ItsAXN. However, you have another Pokemon to catch water and ice type damage on as ItsAXN. It's the Araquanid.
Yeah, Martine, how do you manage this Araquanid at all? You have to bring in your Lapras here. You don't want to take any of these Sparkling Arios. You take a full Skull Bash here, which is going to minimize any Psy Wave damage that you're doing. We're going to see the back matchup play out, but it's Diggersby into Araquanid. Is there any hope here for Ilqm?
It doesn't look like that. Ilqm is very happy with this matchup. The water and bug type Pokemon comes in, goes for the neutral Fire Punch as ground is resisted by the bug defensive typing from Araquanid, and at this point ItsAXN can just start debuffing the damage output from this Diggersby, as Bubble Beam doesn't do a lot of damage. Even though super effective, it will drop the attack stage of the opposing Pokemon always.
We called him Unstoppable Ilqm, but this is looking like it's going to be 3 consecutive battles that ItsAXN is now 1 versus Ilqm. Where in this best of 5, you need to win 3 battles. ItsAXN just won 3 in a row. Can he continue to maintain this momentum? Here in the meantime, he's able to reach his next charge attack. This is the Water Pulse. It does indeed does secure the knockout.
And then the Lapras comes in. Araquanid is still hanging in comfortably. ItsAXN takes game number 1.
There you see it, a 1-0 series lead right now for ItsAXN, 2 games away from becoming your North America International Champion. I think Ilqm needs to figure out how he's going to counter double water. Lapras is not the answer to it. The Dedenne is great, but when you're bringing a team of Lapras and Diggersby in the back, you have to have more answers for water.
I guess he just didn't expect that Araquanid to come out, because Ilqm had bringing the Dedenne over and over. And of course, he did bring the Araquanid, and Ilqm did bring the Dedenne. It wasn't aligned to it. He was so determined to win that 2-shield scenario, then went for the catch, baiting out the opposing Lapras. I think Ilqm was happy with that, but he didn't expect the Araquanid. And when Araquanid came out, that Diggersby looked kind of helpless there.
Another one of those ABB teams that we've seen very regularly. And, you know, ItsAXN really seems to like this Shadow Drapion. I think he's been using it more than any other trainer in the tournament. While we have seen Ilqm using it a bit as well, he didn't use it at all versus Pokémon, and he's using it less frequently than ItsAXN here in this tournament. ItsAXN in the driver's seat right now.
A great player, ItsAXN, and he got that Araquanid not just by himself, but discussed it with another top trainer, Doonbug. It is so good to have for teammates and friends in the community to have by your side. Ilqm, of course, also has players like SJ by his side supporting him. And yeah, how are you going to do it in here? Because now you're on your own.
These trainers are still trying to come to these decisions of what is going to be the team that is going to get me this 1 win. It's all about this 1 game right now. That's where it all starts. Regardless of where the series is, you have to win this next game as both of these trainers. Here we go. We saw the Dedenne into the Lapras, I believe. Quick swap out. We're yet again going to see this switch matchup again. It is the Drapion into the Lapras.
We've seen this matchup over and over. And did Ilqm bring the Dedenne lead again with the Drapion in the back? No, this time it's the Dusclops, so he's better prepared for a potential Diggersby. But there's no Diggersby from ItsAXN. He actually perhaps didn't expect the Dedenne at all. It is looking to be so good in the back.
Yeah, I think that this is still Ilqm's game to lose right now. You do win these even shield matchups. We've seen him give up switch here before. What is this? ItsAXN, what are we doing here?
This is a resistant Alcatel. Ilqm takes the bait. That is diabolical.
That is a huge, huge bait, making this matchup more difficult for Ilqm. He's not able to overfarm quite as much. Throws on perfect timing. Gets to the Sparkling Aria. Can you hang on here, Inadequance?
I think that Sparkling Arrow would get really close to knocking out. ItsAXN knows that, so he puts up the Protect Shield. Do we see 2 Protect Shields used from Ilqm? Looks like that this Drapion is outpacing. This is another Aqua Tail. It is resisted. I think this might barely not knock out. The next Poison Sting might. No Protect Shield being used. Can you get the Poison Sting down? Do we get there? No, he doesn't get Sparkling Area.
Ilqm still has a Protect Shield, but he's now lost switch advantage. This Dedenne is no longer going to be lined up versus this Shadow Lapras. There's no Diggersby to punish it, so he's just going to absorb this Aqua Tail. But how are you going to get this Drapion off the field now? You only have Thundershock and Resisted Hex.
This is actually perhaps the best case scenario for ItsAXN, coming out with so much energy for Shadow Drapion. That's exactly what it needed. Ilqm puts out the Protect Shield for the Dedenne, which is still going to be very obnoxious for ItsAXN to deal with. In comes the first Parabolic Charge. Ilqm didn't want this Drapion to get to another charge attack, but now you do buff up your defense, and I think that this Dedenne will outpace the Dusclops to 2 charge stacks here.
So you're going to get the first Parabolic Charge in 4 Thundershocks just before the Shadow Punch is reached. Are you now in range where 1 Shadow Punch knocks out after the defense increase?
I think it will be really close. Shadow Punch from a bulky Pokemon is not going to deal a lot of damage. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a catch attempt here. No catch attempt. Shadow Punch is coming through. At this point, Ilqm is down a full Pokemon. If this gets the knockout, doesn't get the knockout, it doesn't just yet. One more Hex. Can you get the Parabolic Charge? No, you don't!
Unable to get the charge attack. That is going to be devastating for Ilqm. He brings in his Dusclops. It'll be met by the Lapras from ItsAXN. With the situation that we see right now, I think that this has to be ItsAXN's game.
This is a solid matchup for the Lapras. You can only win this as the Dusclops when 2 shields are in play on both sides, and you have an extraordinarily high defense on the Dusclops to halve the Psywave damage here, but it's not going to save Ilqm here. The Sparkling Area is coming through, and with the Psywave damage, 2 of these are going to get a knockout.
And ItsAXN's own Dusclops is out of range of 1 Shadow Punch as well. You would need 2 Shadow Punches to knock it out, but Ilqm, he is on the verge of getting 1 game away from dropping out of this tournament, and ItsAXN is so close to becoming your NAIC champion.
Going for the first Shadow Punch. Can Ilqm get to 3 Ice Punch here? I think that you'll need it to knock out this Lapras. The next Ice Punch might still not knock out, maybe after 1 more Hex, but it doesn't matter, I think, because there's still the Dusclops on ItsAXN side as well.
Lapras just too bulky, able to do so much damage. This is not a one-sided matchup whatsoever, very neutral matchup, and ItsAXN actually gets to this next Sparkling Aria. This will knock out the Dusclops. ItsAXN taking a 2-0 lead versus its Ilqm. He has won 4 consecutive battles.
4 consecutive wins for ItsAXN in the Grand Finals in New Orleans. He lost to Ilqm yesterday. He took notes, he studied his opponent, and he's now 2-0 up. This time, it is Ilqm's turn to get an attempt at the reverse sweep. We saw Pokémon get really close twice against both Ilqm and ItsAXN, barely failed doing so despite all the boosts and luck that he could get. Now, let's see if Ilqm can walk that same path and then actually get the reverse sweep into Master AXN, the 2023 World Champion.
Ilqm is going to need to rely on skill and alignment, though. He does not have any of those Knight/boosts. He's not going to be able to get bailed out by any double boost there, so he's going to have to figure out his team of 3 that is going to counter ItsAXN. We haven't seen any hard lead wins so much for ItsAXN yet, so it certainly still could be coming. Again, he needs to take it 1 battle at a time. The most important battle of this entire tournament for Ilqm is happening right now.
You say hard lead wins. What about hard losses in the lead there? Because I believe ItsAXN has led his Lapras into the Dedenne from Ilqm twice.
That's true.
And he managed to come back from those battles. Here you see that a lost lead is not always a lost game.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Does that mean then that you need to have better answers to that Drapion safe swap that we keep seeing?
And that's just a really difficult Pokemon to answer, because if you don't have a Mudslap user, if your best answer to the Drapion is Diggersby, you still take super effective damage. You don't have fast attack pressure because your fast attack is quick attack. That is a normal type fast attack. Normal type is not super effective against anything, so you need to do it with charge attack damage. And as long as shields are in play, Shadow Drapion actually can hang in quite well against the Diggersby.
And it's really hard to chip and dip when there's a safe swap Drapion as well, because of how quickly that it paces to energy. Most Pokemon are going to get outpaced by that Drapion, which will minimize that 1-turn switch impact, and additionally, it stalls the switch clock out so much, putting you in a very awkward situation. So it's a tough situation to handle. I think Diggersby is that only answer, and honestly, Diggersby is a Pokemon that you really need for a lot of other matchups as well.
You talk about the switch clock. In Pokemon GO, you cannot switch over and over. There's a 50-second switch clock that will allow you to then do a switch. So once you switch out, you are stuck in with that Pokemon in a particular matchup for at least 50 seconds, and that is vital in some of these matchups. We're heading into game number 3. This could potentially be the last battle if ItsAXN wins it. If Ilqm can win it, he may be setting himself up for a reverse sweep. We see again the diabolical bait. Ilqm falls for it again!
I can't believe my eyes here. Yet another Aqua Tail, yet another Protect Shield. Ilqm now at a bit of a disadvantage. He's going to be getting outpaced for the remainder of this matchup. ItsAXN simply needed to get one bait, and he'll now be able to reach 3 charge attacks before Ilqm.
Now you can win this matchup as the Shadow Drapion. ItsAXN isn't living in his head. He's renting an entire house there with that bait. Crunch coming through. This won't knock out the Goliath spot just yet. He's going to put it really low. Ilqm knows that. He's going to put up the protection at this point. I think as Ilqm, you may want to make a catch attempt on any of the energy from this Drapion here. Going for the Aqua Jet right before the next charge. Does this pull the final protection from ItsAXN? Yes, it does.
Ilqm is worried about the Diggersby in the back, and he wants to hang on to this Golisopod. That's why he's swapping out right now. He gets the catch on the Crunch, which is resisted damage into Dedenne. This could be what Ilqm needs to get back in this game.
Luckily for Ilqm, there is no Diggersby in the back. Does he try to get to another charge deck here? Then we see the swap attempt into the Dusclops. Dusclops comes in now. It will be able to hang on to 2 parabolic charge, but a Play Rough is also the option for Ilqm to use on this Dedenne, which would hit a little bit harder. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough though, but with the defense you gain from this charge attack, a Shadow Punch is not going to be enough either to knock out the Dedenne.
Let's not forget the energy on that Drapion, Martine, because that could be what determines the end of this game. Right now, Ilqm trying to get to this next charge attack, but look how fast this Dusclops paces to energy, has this next Shadow Punch loaded, has 2 Shadow Punches loaded. Does this knock out?
I think it won't knock out. I love this play from ItsAXN. He's building up a lot of energy before the timer is up. Ilqm has a parabolic charge loaded that might be crucial for the end game, as ItsAXN has the Lapras in the back.
How do you now get through this Lapras? Yes, you have a little bit of energy on your Golisopod, but you're going to need at least 2 X-Scissors for that. In comes the Lapras now, trying to go for an Aqua Tail catch. Now the Crunch is loaded though. Will you be able to hang on versus this Sparkling Aria?
This might be crucial for the game. If you get the Crunch debuff here, the next Crunch might be knocking out, but no Crunch debuff. Lapras will be able to hang on here and go for the Sparkling Area right before the drop. If you get to another Crunch, this will secure the knockout. You have a parabolic charge load, but can you hang on to one side wave that might have priority? We might find out now. No, the Goliath Spot comes in with the neutral X-Scissor that might secure the knockout. Let's see, go for the perfect farming. No, letting the Sparkling Area go.
Ilqm unable to reach the charge attack. ItsAXN does get the Sparkling Aria. This is resisted damage. Is it enough to knock out? Looks like it takes down the Golisopod. Parabolic charge is loaded here, but there's only 1 HP remaining on this tiny little Dedenne. ItsAXN is going to take a 3-0 series sweep.
Rise for ItsAXN. He is your 2025 North America International Champion.
What a series that we just saw on stage here. That is 5 consecutive battles that ItsAXN was able to take off Ilqm. Ilqm just didn't have the answers. He tried to get creative. He tried to mix it up, but he was just unable to stop our former world champ, ItsAXN.